So I have been covering this Social Security spat between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden quite closely. There have been multiple sort of updates and just things that happen. Now, Joe Biden accused Bernie Sanders of posting a doctored video of him in which he's, saying that Paul Ryan was correct about cutting Social Security. And the thing is that there are multiple videos in which he argues for freezing spending, federal spending of Social Security. He's bragged about how many times he's done it in clips. And there was a 2008 one where he says, yeah, we need to put Social Security on the table, and Medicare, which is he calls the big kahuna, or it wasn't the big kahuna, it was some sort of phrase like that. I forgot exactly what it was. But he has actually admitted now that he was actually wrong, and he did argue for freezing Social Security. So let's go ahead and hear this out.
Actually in real contention to get the whole nomination.
This fight with Bernie Sanders over Social Security, you've said that he, quote, doctored video of you from the Senate back in the day talking about Social Security, but you did argue that cost of living adjustments as part of a general spending freeze were necessary to cut federal spending and reduce the deficit. That aside,
that was 20 years ago.
Even if Sanders is playing a little rough here and your position has changed, what about those Democratic voters who say...
It hadn't changed.
What about those Democratic voters who say that Bernie's been consistent this whole time?
Well, he hasn't been, but I'm not going to attack Bernie. He hadn't even been consistent on Social Security. But here's the deal. I laid out clearly what my plan for Social Security is. I'm going to increase Social Security benefits. I'm going to raise taxes for people making over $400,000 so they pay the same tax on every dollar you pay at your salary, or at $100,000 or $50,000 or $40,000. That will, in fact, allow us to get those folks who are outliving their Social Security in terms of benefits, be able them to increase their benefits. Those families where a spouse dies and the total Social Security goes down, increase their benefits and make it solvent for that child of yours I met.
So when you say your position hasn't changed, you were advocating for COLA freezes then, but you don't think they should happen now?
No, I don't think they should, and that was in the context of a gigantic piece of legislation relating to what we're in a gigantic deficit at the moment. And it wasn't to totally freeze, it was to freeze for that 1 year, and if we had done everything else. We froze across the board, including the military.
So a lot of weird stuff going on here. And again, I've been telling you guys that Joe Biden clearly has dementia. There's no way you watch that and go, because he's so all over the place and he seems to forget. And that's why I tell you, I don't know whether or not he's lying or if he's just demented. Because multiple times there, he's contradicting himself. So first he says, that was 20 years ago in reference to him calling for freezes of federal spending of Social Security. And then, the guy says, well, so your position has changed. And he's like, it hasn't changed. And so it's like, how do those two collide? I understand. Maybe you'd say, oh, in that context, I was going to do that for 1 year, but then I wasn't going to do that. And it's like, I genuinely don't know whether he's making stuff up or if he's demented. Okay. I genuinely don't know at this point. And then he literally says, but I'm not going to attack Bernie. And then 2 seconds later, he's attacking Bernie. It's like, dude, you just said literally a millisecond ago, I'm not going to attack Bernie. And then you proceeded to attack Bernie. So it's like, which one is it? And by the way, I have never heard a critique that is levied against Bernie Sanders that he's been dishonest or has not been consistent on Social Security. I would love to see the evidence of Bernie Sanders being inconsistent on Social Security. Please, I would love to see that, okay? Because that's absolutely hilarious, the idea that Bernie Sanders has been inconsistent. And notice how he doesn't provide any evidence for his claim. I love it when people do that. They just say something and they don't expand on it. They don't provide any evidence for it. It's laughable to me. It's really hilarious. Like, you think I'm going to take you seriously? You guys all know the Christopher Hitchens quote, obviously. But this is hilarious. So he's finally admitted that, yes, he did argue for the freeze. He goes, oh, but it was just for 1 year in the context of a big deficit we were having at the time. Like, nah, this is not a bargaining chip. We're not talking about something that you just get to play around with for numbers. This is livelihoods we're talking about here. And under no circumstances will we cut federal spending or freeze federal spending for Social Security. And Biden tried to do it again in the Obama administration, and he continued to try to do that. So he's definitely not a trustworthy dude on this at all. And so if you're an older person watching this, I just want you to know and take this into account when you're going to the voting booth. Please, I beg of you, that Joe Biden has not been consistent on Social Security, whereas Bernie Sanders is rock solid on expanding Social Security benefits as well as improving Medicare. So please, if you're going to vote, please add that into your consideration as to who you're going to vote for. And the searches in Iowa are going up for Joe Biden's Social Security, so it's definitely something that's starting to eat into his support. So people need to know, people need to see the videos of him arguing for freezes and him, literally, basically applauding, bragging about him doing that, about him calling for freezes on multiple different occasions. So, unfortunately, this is elder abuse at this point that Joe Biden's even running in the race. He's literally demented. He can't keep his thought process straight. He can't keep his train of thought straight. And he cannot speak, all right, without contradicting himself within seconds. And the fact that people don't see this right now, and it's not national media, is pretty sad. We've got another Reagan situation on our hands.